Good afternoon, beautiful beings of light. It's the Wisdom Circle, first Monday of September. Can you believe it's September already, ladies?
I know. Went fast.
Heather and I are
And
so
it's
happy to
fun.
have Jean and Terry and Wisdom Seeker Joan here. Thank you, guys. Terry Lee is out having fun at what did you say, some kind of Western festival?
Western days.
So that'll be
In
fun, I'm
Miami?
sure. That's sure. So today we're going to talk about the future, which I find fascinating. And Terri Suzuki is going to be our presenter today. So I'm going to turn it over to Terri.
Okay.
I want to welcome everybody who's here in the very beginning. Jen Bowles, Pri is here, Jackie Cirillo, Kim B, Craig Dixon, Motivational Monday. Thank you all, Viviani. Thank you all for being here, and sit back and enjoy. Take notes and let us know if you have any questions or comments about the topic today. Be sure to put them in caps, and we'll make sure and mark them for the discussion time. Amanda Carroll, thank you everybody for being here. Sorry, Terry.
Yeah. Well, thank you for having me on. Thank you for everybody showing up. This has been one of the hardest ones I've had to do, because I kept thinking, but what do I know about the future? I probably not just this much. So I decided that I would keep going on this subject and just preface it by saying the future and what I think I know about it. So, and
Right
of
on,
course,
sister.
I want everybody to chime in. If you have future things, Jean, I think I just add that to the stage. Yep. Okay, great. So, as I
Sweet.
said, the future and as much as I think I know. Let me see, I haven't been there yet. So, as I pondered why in the heck I chose this subject, I had to try to figure out, what do I know about the future at all? So this slide is telling a little bit about what I think I know. The future exists. This is probably the only point that I'm pretty sure about. Okay, there is a future. Okay, the second thing I think I know is the future is not written. Our futures are not written because of free will. And then I thought, or is it? We'll get back to that. And I thought about another thing that people often think about when they think about the future is they often want to deem a psychic medium as a fortune teller. And so I've made this into a little mathematical equation there. A psychic medium does not equal a fortune teller. And then I thought, or are they? So as I struggled with this topic, I started to really dive in. Like, what about that free will? Is our future not written because of free will? Or do we have some sort of future that we have to kind of live up to or do? Jean, can I ask your help? Is there any way I can get the little black slide 3 off of this screen? Or is that just...
You want to go back to number 2?
No,
yeah. You want to discuss?
I want to discuss the slide I'm on, but the little box is blocking what I can see.
Oh,
the slide.
Just
Okay.
move your cursor.
Oh. Yeah. So far as I can tell, we have free will in our lives. And my spiritual team is often fond of talking about this in the most unhelpful ways. So when people ask about the future, like, should I do this? Should I do that? Wanting to, know what's going to happen if they make this sort of decision, my guides are most likely to say, that's human business. Meaning, that you make the decision, or they also are very fond of saying, you bought the ticket, ride the ride. Because I see our lives here like we just bought the ticket to Disneyland and they shot us down here on this ride. So to me, that seems to say, oh, cool, so there is some free will here. And then, but what's up with that? Because I also get information from the Akashic Records Masters team, and it seems to be that they seem to know a few things about the future. So that also then said to me, there's something else going on here. And so as I did kind of dived in more, I realized, okay, we do have a mission. We've just, before we came here, we've made an agreement about what we want to learn in this life, what we want to do. And we may have put in different kinds of agreements with other people where we did it to arrange to meet somebody, to learn, to encounter in this incarnation, something that we wanted to spiritually learn. So to me, that also says, yeah, we might have some planned future. I've also heard, though, that you can renegotiate that too with your team. So I thought I'd move on to the psychic medium. Are we a seer of the future or a fortune teller? So the first one is just definitely me. A really good psychic medium is not a fortune teller of the future. And most of us don't want to be in that position. Why? Because of that pesky free will. If anything I predict could easily be changed by a decision on my client's part, and then I'm wrong. And I don't know about you, but I don't like being wrong. It's not necessarily the most fun place to be. Okay, so now, whoops, got to go back here. So, can I see the future as a psychic medium? And my answer is, once in a great while, yes, I can. But it seems like when I'm looking at the future, it seems like I see two kinds of futures. One future is a snapshot in time. This future is easily changed by my client's decisions. I'm virtually guaranteed to be wrong over time because they're going to make many, many decisions. It's just a snapshot right then of the possibilities of the future.
The energies of the moment.
Yeah, just that moment right now, what they intend right then. But once in a great while, and I mean, this is incredibly rare, once in a great while, I'm granted the ability to see the future. And I know that what I'm seeing is a done deal. That I feel like I call it the take it to the bank future, that it's going to happen. Now, why? Why is some of these very movable and some immovable? What? So I'm going to hazard a guess that some of these have to do with the person's intention, that they really, really intend for that future to be theirs. And there's others who are loosey-goosey about it. They're like, I kind of like that future. I want it to be something like that. And I think that one is more like a snapshot in time. But I will, when we get a little further, I will tell you two stories of when I was working with the future, and I'll show you why one I'm pretty sure is loosey-goosey, and one I feel like I can take it to the bank. So I thought I would talk about how I interact with the future too. Just because sometimes people like to see our processes and how this can go. Remember, everybody has different clairs, and how you interact with the spiritual side is your way of interacting. So, as a clairvoyant, when my team is talking, or your team, if I'm reading you, is talking about the future, I'm going to see your spirit, your whatever they're working with you. If they're showing me you, or they're showing me, I don't know, your team. If everything is moving towards the right, that is the future to me. So, just for me, future is to the right in my visions. The past is to the left. So it's kind of comforting when I finally tap into somebody's energy. And when they show me what they're going to show me, if they're moving to the right, I know, okay, they're moving to the future. If, however, I see them moving to the left, then I know they're stuck in the past a little bit. Something in the past is holding them hostage or drawing them back. So it's very, very rare, even for me, to get to see the future. And it started a while ago where that I was just reading at a fair, and they basically told me to get my third eye involved. And so almost always when I'm looking at the future, I'm going to really wake up that third eye and do something. And so my guides have had, for some reason, they want me to do this, to put my fingers over my third eye, my thumb on my temple, and just, I think it's just to help me concentrate on my third eye, to really, really put my energy in that area. And I know if we're going to get to see the future, if a hawk flies out of my forehead, of course in my head, not a real hawk, and then that hawk, I just follow it with my spiritual eyes, and almost always what it does is it flies to the right and it starts going down a corridor, kind of an open corridor, and this corridor has many, many doors on it. So those are many, many possibilities in the future. And I kind of think that how smooth or roughly this happens has a bit to do with if it's the take it to the bank or loosey-goosey future. Again, a lot of times now that I can read the Akashic records, a lot of times if I get to see the future, I kind of double check with them because they kind of have something to do with it. They know things that I don't. I happen to find this card. I have the Priestesses of Light deck, and what I love about this one, they're talking about precognition, but you can see right there, I don't know, on her forehead, the hawk that I'm talking about. That's kind of how I see it, like that. Although I don't have the pretty braids in my hair, but that's how it kind of goes for me. And so we've kind of come to the part of all I think I know. What I want to talk about is some tales about the future. When have we experienced the future? Because all of us have probably done readings where we got to see it. So I'm going to kick it off with my two future readings. One that's a take it to the bank, and one's not so. So as this young woman, as I was granted the right.
In the slide.
We can leave the slides now. How do we get back to no slide? Oh, remove. There we go. Oh, dang it. Sorry, I did it at the same time.
I'm not touching
it. Okay, sorry about that. So I was at a fair and I was reading a young woman, and she asked me, am I ever going to get married and have a family? It's my heart, my greatest desire. And that was the time that they first introduced me to this little gesture and getting my third eye involved. It was the very first time that ever happened. And I saw the hawk come out. I saw it fly down the hall. And then it highlighted this one doorway to go through. So I went through the doorway as if I was there. And I walked into this beautiful apartment, and she was there, and 2 children, a boy and a girl, and
Aw,
a man. And they were a very, very happy family, very happy. And it was an amazing thing. But the thing that really kicked it off, that kind of clenched it, that I could tell about this family, is they were a sporty family. The whole family played sports. They had all their sports equipment there. Mom and dad did things with them on the weekend. I could just tell sporty. And in fact, that was I said that out loud to her, that it's a sporty family, sporty family. And
cool.
so when we were done, the first thing she said, "Why did you say sporty family?" And I said, "Well, that's what they told me. That's what I perceived." And she said, "You could not possibly know about this, but I live for sports. I play soccer, I do all these things. I live for sports. That is the life I really want." And that was a take it to the bank reading, where that I just knew deep in my heart, this is going to happen. I know maybe 5 years from now, I'll get an email. "Hey, I got my kids and my partner." Now, I never saw them get married, so I don't think they're going to get married, but it doesn't matter. She has a partner for life. So
Beautiful.
a loosey goosey one went like this. So same thing. They wanted to know about their partner, if they have a future partner. We did the hawk thing. We went down the corridor. But in this case, as I got to the front of the corridor, they put his body, this was a man, in the corridor. Kind of like Cash Peters has his little
Yeah.
people. I mean, he draws them like matchstick people, but they're probably don't look like that to him. But anyway, his little effigy started walking down the hall, and he was walking very loosey goosey. That's why I'm going to call it the loosey goosey one. And he went past the door he was supposed to go in. And so I had to turn his little effigy around and make him walk again and give him a little shove in there. And then we saw his partner and, described where, and what I could sense about where he's going to meet him. But here's why I think it's loosey goosey, because I had to manipulate it. I had to back the little effigy up and make it go in the room. And I also know that it's just the way the little effigy was walking. It just, this was just cool for him to do. He hopes it's true, but it's not something in his life want, or that he's going to make this happen.
He's really not focused on it.
Right. I don't think he really knows what he wants. So,
Right.
so
That makes sense. You really have to know what you want to get it, don't you? Really have to know who you are, what you are, and what you truly want for your highest good, not just because I want $1 million.
Right.
Who's to say that's for your highest good?
So that also gives us a tiny bit of clue how free will works too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love your visuals. The way you describe walking down the hall in his little effigy. Whoops, the backup dude.
Yeah. Well, that one was
because I don't see things. It's just so fascinating to watch and listen to people that do see things. It happens to me so rarely.
But you shared with me that you know the future a little bit and you see it a little bit differently or experience it differently. Do you want to share that?
Are you talking about a world war? That one?
No, I'm talking about that you turn your body turns a certain way.
Oh yes. If it's a take it to the bank moment, my head literally turns to the left. Normally, a yes is a just a kind of a nod that I get in the back of my head, and a no, my head turns to the right. It's just a little kind of jerk to the right, and it's involuntary. I'm, as far as I know, I'm not doing it, but I must be doing it, my higher self. But sometimes it goes whomp to the left, and I'm like, whoa, dude, that hurts. Careful now. But that's my take it to the bank one. And
How did you discover that?
I don't remember. Oh,
Or-
yes, I actually do. It was the moment that the Orange Menace came down the escalator. I immediately knew that it was the beginning of the end for him, that all his evil deeds would be catching up with him because he was dumb enough to run for president. Because you're an open book, and people go for you. They're going to find as you can see. I was also told that it was his gift to the world to show the cracks and crevices and all the evilness, the dirty deeds that are being done. That was his job to be here.
And I want to say you've been doing it longer than that, because when we first started doing this, you would ask and you automatically either got the head nod or to the side for your answers, yes and no.
Yeah, I think that's probably how it started out years ago, actually.
Yeah, you've been doing it for almost since we moved down to Key West. So.
That was 2016. Is that the moment you're talking about, Terry?
Well, I was also talking about with your husband, David.
Oh, that guy. Anything he told you, you could take to the bank. I've never seen anything like it. My husband was an engineer, and he did not like having this mediumship. But he, after a couple of years of trying to make it go away and being miserably, and I'm like, dude, come on, you're not crazy. That he went through all of that, particularly because he was a black and white engineer, but he was also somebody that could design things on napkins. He could flip through a set of blueprints and find the mistake in it, just like that, just flipping through the papers without even looking at it. So he'd always had that. He just didn't realize it. And then when we were together, I guess it just blew up. But he would talk to other beings. He would help Heather and I. He would channel information for Heather and I. But literally everything he told you, you could take it to the bank. I've never seen anything like it. And he didn't do it publicly. He didn't take money or anything like that. It was just something that he was guided to do. And if he was going to do it, he was going to do it. But because he was such a sweetheart inside, he was a Leo, so he was very outgoing, but inside he was a kitty cat. And he really felt like he was his brother's keeper, and it bothered him when people didn't take his advice. And I was like, when do you ever take anybody's advice? You're the messenger, dude. You don't get to make them change their life. Sometimes it's big stuff.
Yeah.
There were many times when people would come back to him and go, you just nailed it. You nailed it.
Yeah.
And everything he ever told me to do or advised me about, he was right on, dead nuts on.
Yeah. And he would be so disappointed when people wouldn't listen to him and what he saw happening would happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm not like that. I am really, I'm not a medium like that. My gifts are in healing, energy healing, and, healing through the Akashic records and that sort of thing. But I really don't do any future
I like it though that you have a little tell. You have a little tell.
I do have a little tell, and it's very rare that it happens.
Yeah.
Very, very rare. It's just almost a jerk to the left. And I'm like, okay, got it. And that's what I got with the Orange Menace. They also said he was the most dangerous man on the planet. And I was like, you got to be kidding. He's a buffoon. Well, it ended up being exactly as I was told.
Yeah. Amazing.
It really, and that was back in 2016.
Yeah.
That was actually before I even started channeling. That was some of the earliest stuff, that information I got, because my husband, who's passed, was my first guide. He's the one that's came in first, and he's been here the whole time. Not that I talk to him as much now, but because there's other information that comes from other places, but he's still there when I'm like, oh, David, is that right? I'm one of those, you know.
Does anybody else have some examples where they were interacting with the future?
I can't think of a real specific one, but I do. I've just done a couple of fairs, and the month after I did one, the woman who was putting it on said, "Oh, I talked to one of the people who you read for," and she said, I did my usual thing of there's all imagery or people floating down a stream or whatever. And she said, "Yeah, I got this reading from Joan, and at first I didn't understand, or it didn't seem to hit. But gosh, over the next couple of weeks, boom, 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 all of these things made sense and happened. Maybe she wasn't floating down a stream, but whatever the message was, it did happen.
Right.
So that's always good to see. But I can't think of one specifically about X is going to happen. But one thing did come to me about the guy who was walking down loosey goosey. That to me, if I had gotten that, I would think that your journey is more important than your destination. The way you're
Oh, I love
however
that.
you're doing your life now, you're more into your journey than into the destination. So if you really want to get married or find the person that's in your room, start focusing on that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was going to say, most of the time, I recognize that, oh, I already knew that. But it's not something that I just automatically, oh, I knew that was going to happen.
Yeah.
The only one that I really know was that I had been told that my younger brother would not stay, that he was going to have dementia, it was going to go fast, and he would not be here that long, which happened.
What happened?
But I knew that was coming because I had been told that was coming. I've been told some other things that I'm not going to repeat out loud, but there are some things that I know that it doesn't make any sense to say. Just know that it's coming.
Because it's too far ahead. Yeah. Yeah. When I was a kid,
it's not going to help anybody to know it. So just know
Right.
it and let it go.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to continue. And Terri, do you remember the story you told me about the woman in the hardware store in line? And you knew what hardware store?
Oh yeah, that one. Oh my goodness, that one was so. Another fair, and a woman came and wanted to know about her special person, and they showed me she was so open for love. She was so ready for all this, and they were ready for her to have love too. And so I thought, okay, well, we'll look into this. And then I got a little bit more than I bargained for when they said, oh, yeah, she's going to meet her husband to be at a Finney Ridge Seafair parade. There's going to be a music venue attached to it. They both love music, and they're going to see each other there and notice each other, but they're not going to talk. And then later on, they're going to go to the Finney Ridge Ace Hardware, and she's going to be standing in line buying her thing, and he's going to be there too, and they're going to recognize each other, and then they're going to start dating. And I'm like,
Well,
That is oddly specific.
Yeah, that is.
On Front and 13th Street, on the corner of Front, and like at 2:00 noon. She was like,
That's
I got it. It
crazy.
was like,
I love it.
I was just like, you know,
Wow.
Yeah.
That's really, really good because a friend of ours told me that I would be living on Pearl Street. And of course, there was one when I was looking for an apartment. And there was a Pearl Street in Key West. So we're looking all over the place. Still ended up in Denver, but I'm on Pearl Street.
Oh
wow.
my gosh, you're
Yeah.
kidding.
well, I mean,
Wow.
I did let the
Greg's
lady know
asking, did she listen to you? Yeah.
Huh?
I did
Terri.
say, you know, you can't
Oh,
just
yeah.
go. Oh, sorry.
No, it was to you. Go.
Oh, I did tell her you can't just go hang out at the used hardware store all the time and just searching for you know, just live your life. This is just going to
You
happen.
almost have to forget about it. Yeah.
Ace is the
But
place.
I really did like the part where you were talking about destiny and free will. And what I've heard other people describe it as is destiny is that you live in California and you're going to move to the state of New York. Free will is how many years
How
it
you
takes
get
you
there.
to get there and which state you stop at, or if you go straight through and who you meet. All of that is choice. But
Yeah.
your destiny is that you'll end up just like that. She'll end up on Pearl Street. And the probabilities, like with my pendulum, what I'm finding is, you know, will I find a love? Will it be this week? Will it be in August of 2025? What is the probability of it being in August 2025? 80%, 90%? And all of this is malleable. And it's malleable, I can't say that, but it because we choose our own future. Our future is created every time we make a choice what to eat, what to wear, where to drive, who to call. We choose. We have no idea the power and the ability we have to change and to mold and to create our own future. Choice is our superpower. It's really very very. It's really just like that. And the likelihood events and the energy around that likelihood, the energies and the other components playing a part in that outcome. It also, we can help to build the energies by focus, a vision board, feng shui. Like I said, I have a feng shui thing back here. And if you have two of something, if you want to be a couple, you don't want to have a woman, a picture of a single woman up on the wall, you know, leaning over some flowers. You want to have a couple on the wall, or you want to have a picture of two flowers, or you want to have two pictures of one flower. You want to couple it up. You want to build that you know, doubling up and coupling type of energy around you. And all it is energy. All it is just, you know, filling that in. You want to make sure you take the little flowery sheets off the bed and you get the striped ones on there. You know, you want to make sure you're ready and you want to prepare as if, right? And one of my personal experiences is I did a psychic reading for a bridal party reading for and there was like maybe 6 or 7 young women there, and some of them were recently married, and the one girl was getting married, and they all asked me, you know, when are we going to get my house? When am I going to have my first baby? How many babies am I going to have, a girl or a boy? You know, this is just, they wanted to know. So I used my pendulum. I'm like, and I asked each girl, and I said, this one's going to be a boy. It'll be after you know, this time of day, and this is when you'll find out. And they told me, they contacted me and said, you were right. 5 out of the 6 people, the 6th one still is waiting. And so this type of validation, this type of feedback allows me to know that the probability or the likelihood is around 80 or 90% that my spirit guides, if it's important and in their best interest to know, it's important for them to learn. If it's not, like, you know, some people want to know, am I going to have a car accident? That's not in your best interest to know. They're not going to tell you that. So if it's favorable, if it's helpful, if it's supportive, these things are available for us to know, as long as we we know there's probabilities and free will. Everything is constantly moving. So that validation builds trust. And with you, Priscilla, with your with your head turning or nodding, our bodies are antennas. And if you
Absolutely.
notice just a subtle, like a tenseness or a relaxation or whatever it might be for you, if you pay attention to these little subtle feelings, and you'll be able to distinguish or discern what feelings or what actions, or if you have a little tick, or if you have a little sometimes our ear, like one ear gets a really loud sound, or
Or you smell or you taste. I
yes,
smell
yeah.
roses when my sister's around. When I first met David, I smelled cigarettes and coffee because that was the smell of my father. And we were put together. We knew that after we got together, that we were put together by spirit. My father, his mother were up there, and his wife who had passed. They were all our guides for a while. So you just never know.
You never.
And that cigarettes and coffee smell went away very fast. But when I first met David, I think it was a comfort smell, because I associated that with my dad and comfort, cigarettes and coffee.
So it was a validation of this is the way you should be moving, or this is the right way, or you are on your path. It's a validation.
I
and a
knew David
confirmation.
was the man because of that smell. I knew he was all right because of that smell. I didn't know where it was going because I was ignorant at the time of what spirit was up to. But
yeah, I too am not confident, or would never bill myself as a prediction specialist. I do rely heavily on my pendulum because it's outside of my judgment or my analytical,
right.
and it's a direct line to my spirit guides. So,
and that's important for people to understand. A pendulum is your higher self talking to you, if you allow it, if you stand back and sit back and just observe, and you can get very accurate answers with it.
Yeah.
I do like it, and maybe that's an indication of why it happens, that sometimes with a pendulum you get, a big swing, and sometimes it's much more subtle. And some of that is like, well, maybe it hasn't been written yet. There's a possibility there, but it's a moderate or a weaker possibility.
Or we're not telling you. That's
what
people
just goes in
back and
circles.
forth. It's like, I ain't telling you.
Yeah, sometimes you can ask, can you ask that question? It just says no.
Yeah.
Right. And even, even when I do actually search for the future for somebody, it's rare. I'm not always going to be told yes or anything.
Yeah. I don't ask much about the future. Yeah. Sometimes they'll tell me stuff, but I don't really ask. I've never asked about my future. Have you guys? Have you ever asked about your own future?
Yes. I wanted to know when was the best time for me to buy a car or make a move, or definitely. I always want to know, when is the best time? When in the future would it be the best time for me to make that decision? For sure.
Interesting.
And thanks, Craig. Yep. I remember reading him and reading him and his mother.
Yep. He says, Terri, you helped my mom and us with our future. How lovely is that? And Randy says, I would love to know what ride I'm on, because you said you bought the ticket, you got to ride the ride. And Maria says, okay, she's asking for, I don't know if we're going to be doing those types of questions, but okay. No. And this is another one. I'm not sure. So Randy says, it's not wrong. It's the energies that you were reading at the moment. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, you just mentioned sometimes reading the future for ourselves. And I had that was my last future story. I actually got, when I learned to read the Akashic records, you go to practices, but I had asked every question I could possibly ask. I was at the end of all the questions, and I just threw it out there to the person reading me. Could they show me a future life? I want to see a
Oh,
future life.
that would be
Wow.
fun.
And the person started to read me, but they kind of went silent, and then they played the future life right in my head. They didn't have to say it. So I have to tell you a little bit of background at the time. At the time that I asked this question, I was really heartbroken because this little
Oh,
being had
Oh,
just died, had just gone to the other side, and she was my spiritual companion. I dearly, dearly, dearly loved her. And I had been grousing with my guides and angels about why in the world did it take me so long to find her? Because I found her when she was 10 years old and she only got to live to 14. And why in the world would you break my heart by pairing me up with somebody who had such a short lifespan? And I was just, I'm just grousing, And they said at the time, no, they said at the beginning of that thing, they said, you should quit doing that a little bit because it doesn't matter. Sometimes in the life, she gets to be the long living one and you're the short living one.
wow.
Sometimes it's this way, and sometimes you live about the same amount. So it's okay. And so we're going to show you that. And so my next life was on a spaceship where I'm from Earth, but we're going out into the universe to explore.
Cool.
And it looks a little like Star Trek to me, a little bit. And I recognize people I know. I recognize one of my friends who's died. I saw her there, and I recognize other people that I knew. I
Cool.
can't remember who they were, but it's probably some of you. Um, and I'm just like, oh, this is so cool. We're going out into the future, this is cool. And then I turn around and I run into this other person, wearing the same kind of uniform I am, and I recognize her. It's my little Mia, but she's a human like me, and we get to spend a long time together.
Wow.
And
What
that made me
took
feel
away
so
all that grief, didn't it? Oh,
yeah.
wow.
But that's one of those that it felt like a take it to the bank moment.
Cool.
especially since you saw it in your own mind's eye. That was magnificent. Wow.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So
Beautiful.
do we look at the some more comments?
Yes, yes.
So Dextrose was making a little chuckle. Is it okay to ask the future about a country such as in the UK? And I think that isn't the UK in the future? Isn't the Australia in the future? But it's just about the timeline, right? Is that what they were talking about? I'm not sure. Dextrose, is that what you were referring to? That's what I thought you were talking about.
I don't know. I thought maybe that maybe they were talking about just what could we.
What is the UK's future? Okay,
Yeah, that's what
I
I
thought
got.
they meant. You know how they say that Australia is in the future because they're tomorrow or something,
Right.
but nothing really happens there before it happens here. It's just the date that they have on it. That's all.
Right.
I'm sorry. I kind of read. I'm a little. And let me just try and read them before I pop them up. And somebody said that we have different experiences. So Randy said if they all had the same experiences, the show wouldn't be interesting.
That's true. That's true.
I'm glad they find it interesting.
That was sweet, Randy. Thank you so much. I appreciate
Yes.
that. And
There were
I
some
think,
other really nice remarks about it, our show too. I can't remember. I don't know where they are, but
Mhm.
thank you for the sweet remarks. We all really appreciate that.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
There
So-
is sort of a danger of asking too much about the future, and this happened long before I really got really into this. But I remember as a teenager, I got a book about palm reading, and thought, oh, this is really cool, But then I just kept seeing that everyone's going to die of a brain tumor.
Oh,
Like, no, I don't want to do this. I put that away for a while. And when I've got this deck of tarot cards that I've had for over 30 years. And when I first got them, I started asking about about my dad who'd gotten sick, and I was getting, they were telling me the truth, and I just didn't want to hear it. And
Yeah.
actually, he did die of brain cancer. But and it was funny because I remember opening up a Bible saying, "Just tell me, is he going to die or not?" Because he was going through all this treatment, and I opened it up, and it said, "His body is filled with a malignant disease." And I've since looked for that quote, on whatever version of the Bible it was. Can't find it anywhere.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
But I wouldn't believe it because I closed it and said, well, I know it's filled with a malignant disease, but is he going to die or not? So leave it to me to bring things all back down to death and everything. But when you have to kind of be judicious about, if I'm going to ask this, can I handle the answer?
Yeah.
That's so true. And
Yeah.
And
I
I've had,
I'm
go
sorry.
ahead. Go ahead.
I saw a lot of people that just in total denial when David would give them messages. Total denial. And then they'd come back later and go, oh,
It's
but-
hard. It's hard to hear. The truth is hard
Yeah,
to
it
hear.
really is.
Yeah.
I did ask him when I would die, and he saw the 99 Luft Balloons song came in his head. And I was like, I don't want to live to 99.
I know.
And there are things that he's told us that I'm sure have changed now.
Well, timelines have changed.
Right.
That's the thing
Thanks.
about the future is our timelines have been changing over the last few years.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, when I was talking to Priscilla about this show, and kind of like, what do you think? Because I know nothing. And I am also a geographer, which is a social scientist, and so I study history a lot. And I did accidentally see the future a little bit, but then the timeline changed. So, sorry, this is going to be political, but when Trump was elected and he was being sworn into office and he gave that speech, he said, America first, America first. And that hit me right across the head. It's just like, oh my God, we only have 40 years until World War III. I'm just like, what the heck? Now, part of that is because I know as a geographer, that was what was being said before World War I and World War II, about 40 years before that, where the people were becoming insular, us first. And I just blurted it out, just, oh God. However, I've noticed, and a lot of people, the timeline shifted. When Kamala when Biden stepped down and Kamala came forward, the timeline completely shifted. I no longer feel that's the future.
When you told me that, I got the left. When I was sitting in the car yesterday and you told me that, I was like, nope, the timeline has changed. It's not happening. There's not going to be a World War III.
Yeah.
And I got that big thing to the left, and I was like, oh, cool.
Yeah.
So, Terri, I do have the photo of your card blown up a little bit. Do you want me to share that?
Sure, if they want to see what I see coming out of my forehead.
I didn't want to. It's. Oh, let me just go here. So this is. Sorry. This is the eagle that was coming out of your forehead. Is that what you were saying?
Like a hawk. Yeah.
Oh, it's a hawk.
She's wearing a headdress, but the headdress has a hawk on it, and that's where your third eye is. So that's how this really makes me feel like this is what I experience. And it's unusual that all this blue in the card too, because I also see my third eye as blue, very blue.
Wow. But it almost looks like it's part of her head. It doesn't even look like a headdress, but that's fascinating. And I bet when you saw that, that it was almost like that's right. Like that's how mine is. Like, oh my God, that's my picture of what I see. Like it's a recognition, it's a validation. It's like that. It's it's a rendition of what is true for you. And I think that I always wondered why they had those snakes, the cobra on their heads. And I thought that this was really fascinating with the hawk coming out of the head. Really beautiful. And I thought it was very telling that you included that image. Because it's important for us to see these things around us. Like I always say, if your loved one says they're going to send you butterflies and you don't see a butterfly, but there's a magnet on the refrigerator of a butterfly, that's that could be it. Or there's a truck going by saying butterfly movers. That is like you gotta give it a stretch. You gotta be open-minded. You gotta allow all these things because then more comes in. But I see this recognition and validation all around us. I recently woke up the other morning with a song in my head, and I had it in my head, and it was so telling that I put it on my community page, and it is Starman by David Bowie. And I was I was like, oh, Starman. Okay. So maybe there's some, people or, ETs in the sky watching us, because they say they're watching the Starman watching us in the sky. And then the song kept ringing. And I know that. So I'm like, okay, so we're going to hear about some starmen. Okay. So there's going to be, and then, a couple hours later, the song keeps ringing, keeps going. I'm like, David Bowie, is that you? And the song stopped. He was trying to reach me. He wanted to reach me. He was reaching out to me. He was around. And it's just, you never know how something's going to come through, but and it has nothing to do with the future, but it may have something to do with the future. We may find something out about David Bowie. Oh, and my validation was I saw Iman, his wife, depicted as one of the in one of the galas in her famous outfit or something. I'm like, oh, okay. But it's really just so beautiful the way the universe works and validates these things for us. And the only other time that happened to me was when I heard, it was recently after my father passed, and I heard, "Don't worry, be happy." And I said, no, I said, Dad, that's all right. Thanks. I'm happy. I know I'm happy. So, and then the song kept coming through my head, like, that earworm, "Don't worry, be happy." I'm like, okay, I'm happy. So the song kept going. And then I remember I was in the parking lot. I mean, these things like change your whole reality. I was in the parking lot at work, and I had my head down, and I was walking. It was a little bit of an incline in the parking lot to go up to the steps to go into work. And I thought, I stopped right in my tracks. I'm like, oh, you're happy. The song stopped. Because I wasn't getting I wasn't getting it. I was getting the wrong, and ever since then it's sort of like that. So if I wake up tomorrow morning with Starman, then I'll let you know. But it's been
I want to know what David Bowie has to say.
Maybe he's coming, letting you know he's going to be in a reading here pretty soon.
And your experiences with the songs reminds me a great deal of. There was a period of time, and I would have these melodies and songs with chords and things through them.
You put it together in a book. You have an entire.
I have an entire book because it would play the same thing over and over and over until I wrote it down, and then it would stop.
Mm-hmm. And then occasionally we find out who was doing it.
Right. They were theme songs for certain people, and there was one that she channeled often. And a lot of the times I would say, okay, so-and-so is here, because I could hear his theme music.
She would hear the music before they would come to me.
Wow.
Cool. Isn't that crazy?
Somebody's always, so-and-so is here.
So-and-so's around, and sure enough, boom, they
were there. Yeah.
But they would come through me. They wouldn't come through her. They just send the music to her, and they'd come through me. It was very odd.
And it's really funny, and I won't sing it, but I sent her a copy of it. Her husband, David, wrote a song with words for her, and he wouldn't stop until I had it written down.
Oh, man.
For her.
It was so stupid.
It was, but it was right on. It was right on.
Do you remember the words?
If you give me a second, I'll get the book. Something like she
It's
goes round and
all
round
right.
and around and
It was
around.
something about me spinning,
Twirling.
twirling, and when I would get in the pool, I would go to the deep end and just turn
Oh,
in circles for 5 or 10 minutes. I love
Yeah,
twirling,
most of it.
and I would go both directions
Mhm.
in the pool, and it was kind of like a meditation thing for me.
Yeah. And she
It
goes
builds that
around and
centrifugal
around.
force.
Mhm.
The centrifugal force is very relaxing. But
And
this is
our
just
pool was salt water, so it was like
It was even better.
really relaxing.
Yeah.
and this is just another way of sharing with everybody just these little insights, these little indications, these little ways that we receive messages and how to allow these things to come through, give them the benefit of the doubt, consider them, and wait and listen and find a pattern within the way my pattern is, the way it keeps repeating until I get the message straight may not be the way you
That was
listen
the
to
way
your
David was.
guides.
Until he gave a message, it would stay in his head. I think that's pretty common for all of us. Until you get that message, they're going to nag because they want.
It
Yeah.
just keeps going over and over and over and over. Until you
Well,
do whatever it is they want you to understand or do.
right. Well,
There's
what
a
I like about
starman.
this what I like about this conversation is everybody in the audience gets to see we all experience this differently.
Very differently.
Mhm.
Just because I see these visions and doesn't mean it's the only way to do things like that. In fact, it's actually really hard. I have to try to describe them as much as I can so that you feel like you're there too and seeing it, because I can't right now take the picture out of my brain and show you. So
Right.
yeah.
You need a little projector out of that hawk. No.
Yeah.
That was a hawk. I love the picture.
And don't think that just because you have a handicap or a disability in life that they don't attract you that way. Because I'm pretty well deaf. Just ask Priscilla. But I was hearing these tunes in my head all the time.
Right.
So
Yeah.
Right. Well, lovely presentation, ladies. I'm just loving the chat and the all the different information coming forward, and everybody. Oh, so Craig likes Righteous Brothers Unchained Melody. Meant that he needed to go see Ghost.
Oh,
Interesting.
and I personally, when the first time I saw Ghost, I knew I was going to have to watch it over and over and over.
There's a lot of things in there, isn't there?
Yeah, there's a lot there, and it brings up a lot of, for me, it brought up a lot of pain, and I had to address each one.
Interesting.
Each time I saw it, there was something else that I had to address.
Oh.
So
Wow.
that was just like reading a book. Now address this. I know. Now this one, so.
Aw, I love that, KK.
She says, I ask my guides to send me music messages in the stores I go to. Today, when I left the store, I heard, isn't she lovely? Isn't she beautiful?
That's
And you knew it was a message for you. That gives me chills head to toe. This is what it is. This is how they talk to us. This is how simple and how ordinary and how everyday that this is. And this is how we can begin to just pay attention. And when we have this attention, we have this awareness. When we have this awareness, more will come in. And everybody's saying, I can't hear my guides. I can't connect to my guides. It really is just as simple as that. That's so beautiful, KK. Lovely.
and it can happen for everybody, because that's how David talked to Priscilla first.
I have an entire playlist of songs that he sent me.
Yes.
And they're, love songs. It's just ridiculous. And it's like, you've been dead almost 10 years now.
Right. Well,
Really?
I remember
I'm love songs. I love it.
Yeah, I remember the first time I read you, he appeared right away.
Mhm.
In a magician's outfit, by the way. It was kind of
Oh, that's actually
That
kind
would be about right.
actually that's kind of appropriate. He was pretty. I mean, he was a good guy. He had his issues, but he was an amazing human being. He's going, thanks, in my head. He's like, thanks.
Yeah, and like
Aw.
we would have a dishwasher. Neither she nor I could turn it on. He'd go over and touch it. It was on.
Mhm.
The knack. I was married to an engineer. The
Yeah.
knack. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just so funny.
Same thing with the boat motor. So
Jenny says she
Hey,
keeps
Jenny.
hearing the theme from The Godfather. Anybody know why? I would say that has to do with family obligations and being a part of a, not a mafia, but a
big
unit.
family, a big.
a unit.
Interesting.
Or maybe you're going to meet an Italian man. Who knows?
Ooh, yeah, yeah. Who
There you
knows?
go.
I have a
Maybe-
favor to ask of you all before we
Yes.
leave. The producer of our show
David,
called me yesterday, and he needs a new heart. He's
on the list.
failing fast, and
Oh,
he's
dear.
now at it's not Mount Sinai, Cedar Sinai in LA with a team of doctors. He needs a heart transplant. His name's David Reese. He's the director of news at NBC Palm Springs. He just won an Emmy, as sick as he is. I can't believe it. 6th Emmy. He's the
And he's
kindest,
such
sweetest man I
a
know.
young guy.
Yeah, maybe in his 40s. He's
Oh.
he's just a wonderful human being, and luckily he has a lot of earth angels around him. But I would appreciate any healing light you all could send,
And
any
energy for him.
prayers. Just surround him in love and light, and hope that he can make it to get his new heart, because he's in
And
bad shape.
the only thing that you left out is that his heart is only functioning on 5% right now.
Ooh, yeah.
Well, it was when he went into the hospital. I think it's more
Yeah.
than that now.
Now
Got
it's
it.
getting better.
He
Good.
seems to be stabilized, but I'd appreciate it. Any love and light send his way. He's a really wonderful guy, and we wouldn't be here without him.
That's
He's
true.
one that put us on YouTube.
He's a wonderful friend.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you very much. And with that, ladies, what are you up to? Terry, thank you for a wonderful show.
It was
so
great.
interesting to see what everybody experiences and how different it all is. It's wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah.
Does anybody have a show coming up? I mean, tomorrow we're up with our usual 8:00 Tuesday evening, and what I can't even remember what it's on.
Solar flare downloads.
Yes, downloads. Sorry, you guys. It's on downloads tomorrow night. How about you guys? Jean, when are you on again?
Joan and I.
Oh,
Go ahead,
Joan,
Joan.
sorry.
Yeah, I will be hosting Jean and Gerald tomorrow afternoon at, I think, 2:00 Eastern.
Eastern.
Yes.
Mhm.
And for Enlightened Insights. So that's always fun.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Oh, Gerald is so much fun.
I know, and he's a really good reader. It's
He is a great reader.
a fun trio to do.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it. I hope I'll make a point to come.
And
And-
after that, I have a show with Sally, and she's going to be presenting her orbs. I don't know if anybody's seen those shows on Val Dragonfly Crystals, but I begged Sally to come on over and to show my audience, because it's a little bit different. And I feel the energies of these orbs that she catches on footage. I guess you wouldn't call it film or tape. You would just call it footage. She has footage of these, and they're just magnificent.
How
And the
fun.
energies, I love them. And the way that Sally describes it and her interaction, I just love. It's very, it's something different. And I love taking a look at new things and different things, because there's going to be more and more occurrences occurring in our lifetime for sure. So I'm
Yeah.
looking forward to that.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to be on is Friday with Jean and Terri Lee. So
Oh, fun. That's great.
I get a
So we're
little bit
all
of
having a
break.
busy week, because we'll be on again. Aren't we with you Friday? SunPsychic Jean, or is that next Friday?
Just a second, let me
It's
look at my calendar.
next Friday. Next Friday.
Okay. And then Saturday, Juno's going to be with us at our normal time at 8:00. So
Oh. look what Viviani said about the orbs. It was a galactic rave party.
oh, how fun.
Cool.
Well, I'm going to have to watch Sally. I'm not familiar with Sally.
Oh, go to Dragonfly Crystals and just look up orbs. It'll blow your socks off.
Wow.
It's fascinating.
fun.
I love that kind of stuff. It's just,
I do
I mean,
too.
it's just like Scorpio Sun Tarot's Angel. I mean, that was
Yeah.
like miracle on film
It
before our
was.
very eyes.
It was. I saw that. Yeah.
Yep.
I
This is-
tried filming orbs in my house in Key West, and
I
we
remember
got quite a few.
Yeah, well, she got a man. You could see
Wow,
the man turn
nothing
around
like
and look.
that.
No,
wasn't very
it
interesting.
was, and then he almost, you know how the genie movie, and it kind of like went up and went into a little wisp and flew away, like he just morphed.
Wow.
Because he turned and you could see his face, and then he just like, I was like, oh my.
Oh, I have
That's
to
why they
watch
say the
that.
other
That's
side
fascinating.
is a different dimension. It's a different
It
realm.
is.
It's all here, but it's in it. It's
And,
just
and
amazing.
you can see it. You may see it differently, but you can see it. Sometimes I see
An orb airport. I love it. Playground.
portals, the shadows, or sometimes I actually see in a glimpse as they're leaving. Like today, my old Siberian Husky was here, came up.
That's fascinating too.
Yeah, so they're here.
The veil
Oh, yeah.
spinning.
Even Miss Kitty talks to me. My cat that
Exactly.
died a year ago still talks to me. She
Yeah.
calls me mommy.
Mhm.
I was like, mommy? Okay. Yeah. She followed me to Colorado. Our loved ones are around us 24/7. We are so inundated with love and light around us. It's amazing. And we can't see it.
I think it's also happening to the general public too. And that's why they need
Absolutely.
each and every one of us, because people are going to be like dialing us up.
What's
Did that
wrong?
really happen?
Am I crazy? I saw this.
Do you believe me?
Yeah.
That
Wait,
happened to
wait,
me
wait.
the other day. Not to me, but to my client. They came. I had my cousin come to my home, and I read her and her friend. Now, the cousin's reading was straightforward, but I knew the friend's reading was going to be really different, and I didn't know why. They just kind of prepared me. It's going to be different, and she said, I know this is the right thing to do, and I trust what you're going to tell me. She said, because just before I walked in here, my guide sent me angel numbers, and they do it all the time.
Wow.
She said, but then she showed me the angel number, and what it was is she got a text from 111111.
Wow.
There's no number like that. There were
There's
10
no
words.
number.
And but that's how they send her the angel numbers. Yeah.
Yeah, my first encounter was a smoke alarm. Go figure.
Little subtle first.
Yeah, David was. You never say David was subtle. That's for sure. By the way, next month in October, Terri Lee's going to be our presenter, and she's going to talk about the spirituality of aliens. Won't that be interesting?
Yeah.
I think
I
that
want to know how she knows. No, I'm kidding.
because I want to know more anyway.
Yeah.
Everybody, thank you so much for being here. I love the Wisdom Circle. I love all of you ladies and all of you that come and visit while we're doing this and make comments. We love your comments and participation. So
Yes.
thanks everybody for being here. And like I said, next month it'll be the 7th with Terri Lee. And until then, I guess we can say goodbye. And
Yeah.
love and light to everybody.
Take care of yourselves.
So long.
Bye now.